Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today we're going to be doing a video talking about some of the differences in different AR-15 components, namely like what separates a really basic AR from one that's been customized and kind of tricked out and had a whole bunch of stuff added onto it. We're also going to talk about some of the different operating systems and some of the hybrid systems that you're going to see out there in the AR-15. So if you're looking to buy an AR, this is going to be a good video for you to kind of explain the difference between some of the basic accessories and some of the more high-speed accessories. Before we get started, I would like to thank our friends at CMMG for supporting today's video. They are the king of weird, y'all. They got some awesome stuff, and if you're looking for anything in the AR-15 realm, they're definitely your go-to people. Check them out. They've got their bufferless descent line, which we actually are going to be discussing a bit in depth here in this particular video, as well as their 22 conversion kits. They make P90 barrels. They got a lot of really cool stuff going. Their 9mm PCCs are amazing. Of course, the Mark 47 in both the descent line and the standard line are great guns. Check them out, CMMG, and tell them we sent you. Big thanks to them for supporting our efforts here on the channel. So we are going to break into some different things, and I've got a couple of different versions of the AR here on the table, as well as some things that are not ARs, but are things that you're going to encounter when you're shopping for an AR, especially if you're going into a gun store and dealing with a salesman who's trying to show you different options and things like that. There's some things that you want to be familiar with, and we're going to really just kind of take our time and go off of each component at a time and kind of talk about some of the differences. And I think that what I've got here on the table demonstrates fairly well, what you're going to wind up seeing in terms of different accessories. And we've got here a basic Colt here on the table. This is a vintage Colt SP1. This particular gun just has a fixed carry handle, standard A2 stock, full length, vented handguard, okay? Standard A2 front sight block, a standard A2 bird cage, A2 grip, basic sling. Not really a whole lot to write home about. This is, when you think AR, this is probably what you're going to be thinking of right here. It's just a good basic bare bones AR. So a lot of companies, and namely when we look at someone like, let's say PSA, who generally makes kind of a entry-level AR that's very basic and inexpensive, what you see with that type of setup generally is you're going to see basic furniture, okay? Just your basic M4 hanger, your basic A2 stock, your basic car handguard, which is like this style of handguard, okay? Really basic handguard. So with an entry-level gun, if you look on the rack and you see something with just these basic components on it, know that it's generally going to be kind of an entry-level, lower-priced gun that's meant to hit a certain price point. There's nothing wrong with that. I want to make that clear out the gate. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get a great gun if you're looking for a basic AR that will just, fulfill the role of defending you. A basic entry-level gun is not going to be a problem. So don't shy away from that. If you don't have a lot of money to spend and you're worried, oh, I have to, spend a ton of money to get a high-speed crazy AR, you don't necessarily have to do that out the gate. All of these things can be customized and added to as you go. So that's the nice thing about the AR, like many people call them adult Legos, because it's true, right, that even if you buy a basic gun, you can go through and change out the stock later, the grip, different optics, put your, Picatinny rail on the gun and any type of muzzle device you want, a special brake if you will, low profile gas block. There's all these things that we're going to go over that you can upgrade. And, probably just we'll start from the rear of the gun and work our way forward, okay? So when you pick up an AR, now this is an A2 with a full-length rifle stock. However, if you pick up a regular, M4, it's going to have just a basic military M4 hanger, that you can collapse and extend if you need to, okay? This is a full-length rifle stock. This particular gun right here is my Mag Tactical. Now this has the Magpul Mo rifle stock, which is an upgraded rifle stock that is meant to replace the factory A2 stock. So if you want to stay the A2 route, see here's a fancy A2 with a suppressor and a 6-power ACOG and all of that sort of stuff, which we'll go over here in a moment. And then of course your bare bones Colt with the basic military style A2 stock, okay? You're also going to run into Magpul stocks. This is a POF 415 machine gun. This one's equipped with your basic Magpul Mo M4 hanger. So an M4, the difference between an M4 and let's just say an M16A2 What most people were referred to as an A2 is like your Colt with the full-length stock, and what most people refer to as an M4, or when someone just says an AR, generally you're going to run into something with a collapsible stock. All right, so this is an M4 that has the shorter length of pull, and that's to accommodate soldiers wearing body armor or to keep the gun a lot more collapsed. And with the carbine, all right, the M4 being the carbine, obviously it's a shorter configuration, shorter barrel, shorter stock, meant to get into tighter quarters, meant to get into tighter places, okay, than the full-size M16 A2 that we see right here. Or in this case, it's an SP1, but it's modeled after the M16 A2. All right, so you have the M4 style of stock and A2 style of stock, with mag pull being probably the most common upgrade that you're going to find, okay? Here we have a CMMG Descent. This is the Mark 47. So this is the brand new Mark 47 that just came out not long ago. This has a foldable stock. So this departs from the standard AR line of guns and actually uses a bufferless type of system that does not rely on the fixed buffer tube that you see in the standard AR in the M16 A2, or let's just say an A2 and an M4 that has to have the buffer assembly on there. With the Descent line and guns like the Jackal, you have a bufferless system with a folding stock mechanism. This stock is from JMac Customs, okay? So you can see you can have folding stocks, collapsible stocks, as well as fixed rifle stocks. And that's to give you a general idea of the different type of accessories that you'll see on various guns. Brownells also makes their AR-180B or their AR-180, BRM-180 line, which is another bufferless type of system that can use a folding stock mechanism. So there are some hybrids, okay, whereby the Jackal, the BRM-180, even the Mutant and the Descent line, anything in CMMG's Descent line that uses a bufferless system like this, okay, is going to be considered sort of a hybrid type of system that departs greatly from the original AR-15 design. But they're still worth showing off because, you know, people still buy the heck out of them. Now, this particular one is the 5.7x28 caliber Descent from CMMG. I pulled the optic off of this one to put on the POF for a video, but just to give you an idea, this is one that was customized by our friends at King of Camo, and you can see that's a really neat rig. That one has the Huxworks flow-through suppressor on there, which is a very, very nice piece of gear. I'm also going to show you a couple of other things that depart from the original AR line as well, but let's move on. So you've got stocks and folding stocks, collapsible stocks, rifle stocks. You've got grips, of course, on the M16A2. Let's just say the A2. You're going to have, you know, your basic sort of 1911 style grip. Now, you'll see some with the finger swells and some without, depending on the type of grip it is, but generally speaking, that's the basic type of grip that you're going to find on just about any type of really basic entry-level AR. One of the most common upgrades, obviously, are going to be the mag pulls. Yet again, on this Jekyll, we have a mag pull Mo, which is a standard Mo. On this 18-inch gun, we have a Mo Plus, which is a rubberized grip. Same grip, but with more of a rubbery kind of texture. A little bit more expensive as well. All right, here's one from MFT that's on the POF. This particular grip is a nice common option, and POF opts to use MFT accessories on their guns, which are nice. You got a little bit different of a palm swell, a little bit different shape, a little bit more of a, less of a pronounced angle, more of a straight kind of grip, which some shooters prefer, okay? On the CMMG, we've got their zeroed accessories. All right, so this is their factory grip that they make in-house or that they contract to make. That's sort of their off the rack aftermarket grip. You're going to see that with a lot of the upper end companies like CMMG. A lot of their zeroed accessories come standard on the guns. So depending on the company that you end up buying an AR from, they may come relatively tricked out the gate. And that's one thing about a CMMG. You can see here it's already got the rail system installed with M-LOK accessory slots. It's already got the 45-degree trigger, okay, or the lower degree tilt of trigger, the folding stock. You know, it's already got the pick rail and all that kind of stuff and everything like that, as well as a drop-in performance trigger. And that you get that for one money right out the gate when you buy a CMMG, which is nice. And if you use the code IV8888, you'll get 10% off, by the way, if you decide to buy something from CMMG. All right, so let's talk about triggers. Well, we kind of mentioned that trigger out the gate. Your standard military mil-spec type trigger, just like is in this Colt, is going to be just a real basic two-stage trigger that's, you know, they're going to break at about 5.5 to 7 pounds in that ballpark. You know, military triggers are heavy, they're basic. You know, a lot of people that make aftermarket triggers now got their start doing basically just modifying existing military triggers by honing the engagement surfaces and kind of polishing and fitting military triggers a bit better to get a smoother trigger pull, a lighter trigger pull, things like that. And of course that evolved into drop-in triggers that we see here. Here in this 18-inch gun, we've got a trigger from Ballistic Engineering. These triggers are a nice drop-in unit. This is their performance precision drop-in trigger. That's adjustable. This one's adjustable down to, I want to say, 3 pounds up to about 4.5 pounds. And it has a flat shoe. Very, very nice trigger. We do have a full video on that particular trigger if you want to check it out. So that's from Ballistic Engineering. And again, you can use the code IV8888 over there as well to get yourself 10% off if you want to buy a Ballistic Engineering trigger on their website. You can get 10% off by using my code. Another popular trigger are the Geisseleys, which I don't have a gun with a Geissele in it right here, but you know, Geissele Automatics makes a fine drop-in trigger. Their SSA is probably one of the industry standards for AR-15 drop-in triggers. Also, you've got again, the line that CMMG does on the Descent. They're zeroed accessories. They're zeroed single-stage drop-in trigger. These can be purchased separately on CMMG's website as a nice drop-in trigger option, which are great. So drop-in triggers have come a long way. There's a heck of a lot of them out there. They come in very different price points. Some of them as cheap as about $79 all the way up to $350 or so, depending on what you get. And of course, with all different types of bells and whistles, adjustability, and everything like that. But generally, you can get a great trigger for an AR-15 for somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 to $149. There are a lot of drop-in trigger options, like the Wilson Combats are great. There's a ton of options for drop-in triggers, and it's almost impossible to recommend an exact one because there's so many options. I'm trying to help narrow it down, but I'm trying to get you to understand that, you know, triggers kind of fall into some different price points, but generally speaking, a good drop-in trigger is a great upgrade for your AR to increase your accuracy, to improve that trigger control, and improve the trigger squeeze. Definitely makes it a lot easier to shoot accurately once you, you know, upgrade a little bit. All right, let's talk about sights, okay, real quick. Again, with the A2, you can see this is a fixed carry handle. You're going to see some guns that have a flat top rail on them, standard. In fact, most of your entry-level guns now have at least a flat top upper receiver. This is a carry handle upper receiver. The difference is the carry handle is made into the upper receiver on this older Colt. However, with the removable carry handles, if you do purchase a gun with a removable carry handle, all you have to do is take the carry handle off and you have a pick rail up underneath that you can then mount all of your other accessories to. All right, on this POF, we've got a Leupold Delta Point Pro and a 1/3 co-witness mount. All right, that's a nice, affordable red dot that's very small. Again, we've got another red dot on this particular Jekyll here. This is a Gideon Optics Mediator, which again is in a 1/3 co-witness mount. Very nice, compact red dot that does not cost a lot of money. These are very affordable and very functional, okay? Now stepping on up on the optics, here we have our 18-inch gun with a 6-power ACOG. All right, so to put it into perspective for you, this optic right here is a sweet piece of gear. It's a really nice optic that gives you a lot of flexibility, and they're very, very high quality. Trijicon makes a fine piece of glass. But to put it into perspective for you, you're talking about $2 grand for one of these versus, you know, the Delta Point Pros you can pick up for about $350, $300, something like that. The Gideon Optics Mediators are well south of $300. If you want something kind of in between, you can do an adjustable optic like this Primary Arms here. It goes from a 1.5 power up to 8 power. This is a Primary Arms with their, it's a 1:8 by 24 with the first focal plane. This is set up in a Bobro quick release mount. So this optic gives you some adjustability to go down from low power to high power, and also have an illuminated reticle. So that gives you a little bit of both worlds. Instead of just having a red dot, or an optic with magnification, now you have adjustable magnification with the ability to have whatever intensity of red dot you want. So that does give you some options there in one optic. Some people are not a fan of those types of optics, some are. They all have their fans. I generally tend to kind of go towards the ACOGs. I like them because you drop them on, they're bulletproof, they work. All the math in the optics is really good, especially if you get the ACSS version of the Trijicon ACOG. It's fantastic. Dimitri over there really knows what he's doing in terms of developing really good math in those reticles. And every type of ACSS reticle I've ever used has been fantastic, and they've performed really well. Probably one of the most sensible upgrades that you're ever going to have with an AR, and what's going to separate an expensive AR from a cheaper AR, a more entry-level AR, is definitely going to be a combination of the barrel and the handguard. Here on this A2, we can see that we have, again, just a standard car-style handguard, your old school vented removable handguard. To compare directly to, an A2 type of gun, we've got the Mag Tactical here set up with a 15-inch Geisley rail. This one is a Mark II, a 15-inch with all M-LOK accessory slots through and throughout. The way that the Geisleys attach are very, very clever. Uses a pair of hardened screws with a really nice barrel nut that pins it in place nice and tight. And there's also a pair of set screws that get tightened against the receiver to prevent it from flexing or moving in any way. Also, with the gas blocks, Geisley has their bomb-proof gas block installation that you pin in place, and they are absolutely solid. They do not go anywhere, right? Basic barrels, are going to shoot pretty good, but you're also going to end up having something like, this gun. One of the limiting factors of accuracy in a rifle like a standard A2 versus something with a free-floated handguard, the difference is with the Geisley rail, you're removing all the contact from the barrel and allowing the barrel to vibrate in the most natural fashion that it possibly can. So by free-floating the barrel underneath the handguard, you're improving accuracy greatly by not inhibiting the inherent vibrations of the barrel and what we call barrel harmonics. You're not really causing a major shift in those barrel harmonics. And also, if we load up this rail full of accessories, because nothing's touching the barrel, it does not hinder the accuracy in any way, shape, or form. If I put a bipod on this 18-inch gun, and I load this thing up down in the prone and get down and put a lot of weight on it, or I'm hanging a bunch of accessories off of it, it's not going to matter because the handguard is not touching the barrel. If I were to somehow take, let's say, an A2 and attach a whole bunch of crap to it, believe me, people have done it, you're adding a lot of variables in there because you're actually still hindering the movement of the barrel because of the way that the sight is attached and the way the handguard is attached and the way this delta ring assembly is made. It's not necessarily saying that this is not a good gun that's not capable of good feats of accuracy, because obviously it's still a decently accurate rifle. This is one of the best shooting iron sight rifles I own, especially in a semi-auto. However, to get the best accuracy, you're going to want to get a free float handguard of some sort. You can see here with the POF 415 that it's more of a monolithic upper, where the upper and the handguard are all one piece that's made together. And this is a hybrid type of system, okay? Really cool stuff in that regard. Of course, we can see with the Jackal, same thing, a monolithic style, one-piece upper with everything captured in the upper. All right, this puts things into a slightly different territory. This is a long stroke gas piston operation, more like an AK, or more like, let's just say, the old school AR-180s, which we're not going to get too far down the rabbit hole on that. We'll talk a little bit about operating systems, but I want to finish talking about handguards. And again, here on the CMMG Descent, we can see that we have a nice handguard here with M-LOK accessory slots through and throughout, and a nice side charging handle, which is nice there. And this is a very nice out-of-the-box rifle that's ready to go and very, very capable. But you can see generally that the industry standard for aftermarket handguards is generally going to be M-LOK accessory slots. They're basically just these, these slots that you can drop a variety of different accessories into. But I think for the purposes of handguards, that's going to get you pretty close, okay? There's a lot of aftermarket accessories in terms of handguards, and they all come in at some very different price points, okay? You can get a basic free float handguard for probably as little as $100, and they go up from there. For instance, the 15-inch Geisley that is on this gun, these things retail, sometimes you can find them on sale for like $259, $249, something like that, but generally they're going to be about in the $300 price range, depending on the setup. But I definitely have to say that the Geisley is one of my favorite aftermarket handguards for sure. I love it. It's a fantastic piece of gear and will immediately increase the accuracy of your rifle right out the gate. Another increase in accuracy is going to be the quality of barrel that you use. Now, a military, cold hammer forged barrel from like FN or Daniel Defense or someone like that is going to be one solid barrel. Anytime you go with a good cold hammer forged barrel, they're always going to shoot well, even if it's a short barrel like a Mark 18 or something in the Daniel Defense, a little 10.3, or if it's an 18-inch or 20-inch gun with a cold hammer forged barrel. Cold hammer forged barrels lend themselves to fantastic accuracy because of the manufacturing process. Now, I'm not going to get down the rabbit hole on barrels, but I will say that not all barrels are created equal, and you've got a lot of different companies that make aftermarket barrels for the AR-15, and many of them are quite good, okay? There's a lot of different companies. Ballistic, I forget the company we use on the Argoses. I'm drawing a blank on the name of the company that we use, but there's a ton of different ones. You've got Proof Research. It makes like a carbon fiber wrap barrel. Those are cool. You've got a variety of different match grade barrels from Bartling, I think is the name of that company. Schilling. You've got a ton of different barrel manufacturers, and they all do really different stuff. The barrel that's in this 18-inch gun is an ion bond coated barrel from BCM. It's 18 inches. And it's fantastic. It shoots really, really good. There are so many different options for barrels, and I've rarely found one that didn't shoot a lot better, or at least, provide a good upgrade in terms of accuracy. So aftermarket barrels, I mean, you can buy some kind of cheaper ones for probably 150 bucks or so that do pretty good. For instance, the ion bond coated barrel from BCM, these barrels are like 400 bucks. So when you get into a good quality match grade barrel that's cold hammer forged, good coatings, good fit and finish, good polish, just a good overall aesthetic in terms of the way that it's put together. I mean, expect to spend, the better part of $350 to $450 for a good aftermarket barrel, especially in an 18-inch or 20-inch SPR or, a higher end AR build. Now, are you going to see a lot of accuracy difference buying like a nice aftermarket barrel for a real short gun, like a little 10.5 or 10.3 or 11.5 inch AR that you intend for close end work, like maybe you're going to build an AR pistol or something like that? I mean, obviously a barrel upgrade is not going to hurt accuracy, but you also have to kind of keep in the back of your mind, what is the intended purpose of the gun? Like, where are you going to want to put your effort in terms of, upgrading a given firearm? I would say having a handguard that you can put, maybe better accessories on, like a flashlight and a sling mount or something like that, and a short rig might be a more useful upgrade if it has a car style handguard than going, well, let me go upgrading the barrel. The barrel may not necessarily be a point of contention in terms of whether or not you want to upgrade. You might want to go with the handguard first, or the grip first, or maybe consider a flashlight and a sling first before you start trying to mess around with the barrel. Maybe take it out and shoot it. It might actually shoot pretty good with just a handguard being free floated on it with the factory barrel. So that's another thing I want to mention. Don't start throwing a bunch of variables at your gun before you test something that you change. So don't go changing 2 or 3 things on your rifle and then go, well, now I don't know what adversely caused the issue or improved the accuracy. You might have changed something that made the accuracy worse, and now you don't know because you didn't, isolate all of the things you changed, what might have caused the problem if you are running into a problem. Generally speaking, though, free floating the handguard and getting a good aftermarket barrel will help with accuracy by a good margin. I would say the best upgrades for accuracy for your AR are going to be your trigger, the free float handguard, and your barrel. Muzzle devices, they can come in a lot of different flavors. Your A2 is generally, obviously, yet again, going to have your basic A2, what we call a bird cage flash hider. It's quite effective. It's been used for years, and it is the industry standard. Most of your entry-level ARs are going to have just a basic A2 flash hider because that's what they use, okay? And muzzle devices come in hundreds of different flavors. You have muzzle brakes, flash hiders, suppressor mounts, all different types of accessories, and they can come in at a lot of different price points. Again, here on the CMMG with their zeroed line, you've got this nice, what they call their SVD style brake that is on this gun. In a muzzle brake, what happens is the gases are diverted rearward, outwards, and upwards to decrease the felt recoil and to make the shot recovery a lot faster and more efficient on the gun. Muzzle brakes also make the gun ridiculously loud because of the way that the gases are vented. So if you are going to install a muzzle brake on your AR, you might want to make sure you invest in some good ear pro because it does make the concussion much louder, it makes the gun much louder, but it makes those faster follow-up shots possible with the brake. A flash hider obviously helps hide the flash. That's pretty self-explanatory. All different types of suppressor companies make generally some type of proprietary accessory to mount their suppressors to a bunch of given different firearms. So let's say you bought a suppressor. This is an APD chemically welded suppressor that is actually direct threaded onto this particular SPR. However, that is kind of an interesting exception. Most people with an auto loader are not going to use a direct thread can, generally, okay? Don't get out the pitchforks, y'all. I'm just saying the reality is most folks are generally going to opt for some type of a removable suppressor mount. So let's say you had an AAC M4 2000 suppressor. That's an older suppressor, but say you had an M4 2000 and you had, you know, a half by 28, you know, 31 tooth muzzle device that was on 5 different ARs. Well, then in theory, you could take that can off of any of those guns and mount it on any of the other guns that have that AAC muzzle device. But you're limited to using AAC suppressors with that particular muzzle device. Now, I'm not going down the rabbit hole any further on muzzle devices, but let's just say that if you're going to mount suppressors, you know, each company kind of has their own neat kind of proprietary thing they do. Some are better than others. Some mounting systems are better. I'm not going to get into that in this particular video, but at a basic, you know, bird's eye level, just know that with the muzzle devices, you can get everything from basic A2 birdcage all the way up to fancy brakes. Like Walker Defense makes a really, really nice muzzle brake that is actually 3D printed. It's really, really nice. It is awesome, and it makes the gun shoot so flat, and it is a very, very effective muzzle brake. So there's a lot of different muzzle devices out there, but that should give you a pretty solid idea. And price points, you know, look, you can get basic ARs for like 500 bucks, and you're probably wondering to yourself, you know, you go on somewhere like PSA and you see a really basic entry-level AR and you're thinking, well, how good could this thing possibly be for 500 bucks? You know, you'd be surprised. The quality is actually pretty decent, you know. They hold up pretty well. A lot of them are overgassed, you know, and when we say overgassed, generally the gas ports are a little bit larger, to basically make the gun accept a little bit more gas. And the whole idea being that when a gun is overgassed, what it essentially is an attempt to get the gun to be more reliable. So if you're trying to really tune an AR and get every little thing just perfect, which you can do with an adjustable gas block, changing out different buffer weights and springs, and there's a lot of other little things that we're not going to go through in this video, but you can really tune an AR to work really perfectly in its given configuration, just like this 18-inch SPR, okay? This thing just barely pukes brass out. It shoots match ammo really great. You know, it's tuned beautifully. It's not gassy. There's no gas back in the face with the suppressor. There's all these things that I've carefully considered with this rig to get it to shoot perfect. So ARs can be tuned really well, but your basic AR that costs 500 bucks, okay, they're going to be overgassed because they want to make sure that it's going to run with any ammo you put in it. Now, that's not a bad thing, okay? The gun's overgassed out of the factory. It's running good, you know. If you take a Smith & Wesson M&P Sport, it's going to be a great gun right out the gate. If you take a PSA, PA-15 with a, you know, right now they got their pistols for like south of 500 bucks with a detachable carry handle and an A2 front sight block. You know, like a little short car handguard, a little kitty cat rig with the Magpul brace assembly. You can get those guns for south of 500 bucks with free shipping. They're going to run. Okay, yeah, they're overgassed. Is the accuracy going to be super stellar? I mean, look, it's going to be accurate enough to defend yourself with. Is it a gun that's going to last for thousands and thousands of rounds without being cleaned? And I mean, look, what gun will, right? So if all you can afford is a $500 AR out the gate, don't feel ashamed for buying a basic gun and starting there and working your way up. I wanted to just kind of make this video to educate people about some of the differences in the systems, the differences in the accessories and things like that, and the differences in some of the price points, because there's a big difference between your $500 PSA and, you know, a $2,200, $2,300 Descent that is set up with all the bells and whistles right out the gate. So this is a gun that you can buy once and cry once if that's what you're looking to do, and it's got all of their zeroed accessories already ready to go. There's nothing to upgrade here. It's ready to rock, okay? Versus a PSA, which gives you the basic thing out the gate, and then you can decide if and when you want to upgrade anything as you go. We'll talk a little bit real quick about operating systems, okay? And I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole because this is kind of getting into more advanced information that may not necessarily equate to, you know, your first time AR purchaser may not exactly consider this stuff too heavily, but I'll just touch on it since we're, you know, close to the end of the video. We'll talk a little bit about operating systems, okay? The basic A2 operates off of what's called direct gas impingement. And look, I'm not going to get down the rabbit hole on this because that alone would be a 30-minute discussion just to discuss the niceties and finities of direct gas impingement. But for the layman's, let's just say that gases are sent through a gas tube back into the gun to operate the gun. At a very basic core level, okay, this gun pukes in its own mouth, all right? Gases are forced down the barrel behind the bullet. As the bullet passes over the gas block, the gas port, the gases are redirected back through a tube into the action to operate the gun. That's fine. DI is a great system. Then you've got a piston gun, which uses basically a piston accessory, or let's just say, in the case of the Jekyll, you've got a long stroke gas piston, where the gases are forced directly against a piston cup, just like an AK-47 or an SKS or something like that, to drive a rod rearward, essentially, that's under spring pressure, of course, to operate the gun. Or, in some cases, the gas piston is attached directly to the carrier, and then that force is generally just translated directly to the carrier, which operates the gun. So there are, you know, a lot of different ways to skin a cat in terms of the way that different guns are put together. Generally speaking, most people's first AR is going to be a direct gas impingement gun because that's what's common and that's what's affordable. When you start getting into a piston system, you are going to spend more money, like some of the LMTs. You know, there are options out there for piston guns like the Adams Arms, which is a nice upgrade that doesn't cost a ton of money to upgrade if you want to get into a piston system. The Adams are definitely worth looking into, but generally speaking, most people are going to stick with a direct gas impingement. Also, one quick mention before we go is that ARs can also be equipped with a variety of different uppers. Okay, this particular upper is a belt-fed upper. That's right. You can convert your AR to run as a belt-fed. This is a 100-round nutsack, okay, set up with a 100-round belt. This one is set up on a machine gun lower, and it runs fantastic. And again, what I said earlier about the ACOGs, this one is wearing an ACOG, all right? We also have a flashlight on this particular rig. So as a belt fed, this bad boy's ready to go. A lot of these accessories in terms of different uppers, okay, that's another thing to mention, is that with ARs, you can change out uppers quite easily. So I could have one lower set up however I want with all my trigger and accoutrements and everything, and then I could just buy a score of different uppers, including a belt-fed upper, and install it on the gun if I wish to. So I wanted to show that. This is from Fight Light Industries. This is a 10.5-inch barrel, and this is a machine gun. This one is set up with the Fight Light Industries belt-fed upper. So yes, you can turn your AR-15 into a belt-fed. You can turn it into an 18-inch SPR, or special purpose rifle. You can turn your AR-15 into a nice short configuration if you want. Now this particular one is a factory machine gun, but you can build this as a pistol. So there's a lot of different options to go short on the barrel, long on the barrel, different operating systems, stocks, grips, triggers, accessories, rails, barrels, optics, different magazines. So many different things that you can change out, and we didn't even discuss every little bell and whistle. But for the uninitiated that's out there looking for an AR and want to know kind of some of the different accessories, hopefully this video pointed some of you in the right direction. So I hope you all have a great day. Many more videos on the way. We'll see you soon.